I spit rhymes for 2111, lifting up your soul, so you're welcome, son. I spit rhymes for 2111, lifting up your soul, so you're not stuck. Hello, everybody. I'm Eric Taylor. It's Big E Astrology, and you are watching Knowledge is Love, episode 153, with my amazing guest returning again, Miss Debbie Solaris, the Galactic historian, although I like to personally call her the Galactic Guru. How are you, my friend, this evening?
Oh, I'm doing great. It's definitely a weird summer here in Colorado. We're getting a lot of thunderstorms, lots of rain, torrential rains actually, which
Wow.
is very unusual for Colorado because we're kind of high desert here. So we usually get really dry in the summer. A lot of forest fires that occur here in the summer.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah,
Okay.
so yeah, a lot of strange happenings, which I'm sure some of it is astrologically configured. I don't know, but
Yeah. And today I will say to everybody watching, and welcome to everyone, and hopefully you guys comment in the chat, but happy Aquarius super full moon to everyone, which happened today at 2:31 p.m. Eastern, right? And I know for you, Debbie, being the Taurus ascendant,
hmm
that is hitting your 10th house and kind of hit your Saturn, your natal Saturn, and your South
hmm
Node. So how have you been feeling today, actually?
a little scattered all over the place, but overall pretty good. I mean, I'm just kind of riding through the wave, just like everyone else. But other than that, doing pretty good.
Okay, and it's Leo season, so happy birthday.
Thank you. I just had my birthday last week, so
All right, so I
yeah,
know we had that, so that's really awesome.
yeah.
And you know, I want to jump in because we sort of left off last time when we really were focused on the Akashic records, and obviously a lot of people know you for that. And I had an amazing reading with you, and so have my mother-in-law, my wife, my oldest son. The whole family is hanging out with Debbie, but this time we're really focused on quote unquote, like you told me, your jam, which is the aliens and the galactic energy, right? So
Mhm.
last week we had the whistleblower last Wednesday, I believe, in Congress, kind of, I guess, speaking to and alluding to proof of aliens and what they call it, like biological entities on a
Yeah,
spaceship and
exactly.
things
Yeah.
happening. So I want to know, what's that really about? Because sometimes I do get concerned and I don't want people, right? We spoke about this, to be misled, because I always think about, well, now the government's talking about it, then we got to watch out, right? Because I think
Ye-
about Project Bluebeam.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
how do
Yeah.
you assess this and share with the audience what's going on?
Yeah. Well, I guess my overall take on it is this was a long time coming. I mean, this was information that's been out there for decades, and we all know that. I think at this point in our timeline that a lot of us aren't originally from here. We're not from this planet. We were seeded here from extraterrestrial races, and I can go all into the history of that. And I'm happy to do that if people are interested. But pretty much, aliens have been amongst us for thousands and thousands of years, and they've been visiting this planet, for millennia. So this isn't really new news. It's just the mainstream media likes to kind of present it for their own agenda, for more or less. Like, oh, let's get the people wrapped up of, worked up about aliens so we can pretend to have an alien invasion, and so it's a control method, but at the same time, there's actually a very positive aspect to this in the sense that hopefully more of the masses will become aware of it. Like it'll start sinking into their consciousness.
Okay. So yeah, and I always like to look for the positive in things. So I
Yeah,
was
me too.
definitely
Yeah,
kind
me too.
of, inquiring, because my first instinct was like, I don't know, this sounds a little weird. But
Yeah.
so when you say, that kind of mix, right? We kind of touched on this, and I know, whether it was through Noah or Adam, or, whether it's, Cro-Magnon man, but
Mhm.
it was sort of a Syrian Anunnaki collaboration here, like in terms of
Yeah, I would say
early
it was
on.
a collaboration, but maybe of more than just the Syrian races. I consider Anunnaki part of the Syrian races.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because they were from Sirius C, but yeah, it was actually, I think, a collab. I mean, if you look at the history of Earth humans, we started off with really kind of basic indigenous humans, and then all of a sudden we got Neanderthal man, and then a couple of thousand years later, a few thousand years later, we got Cro-Magnon man, and so there was spikes in human evolution. Well, why did that happen? Well, it happened because there was extraterrestrial races that were manipulating human genetics. They were part of working on this human genome project. The Syrians, I would say, were the foremost races that were working on human genetics. But there was also collaboration with the Pleiadians, and even to a certain extent, Andromedans and maybe some other star races. The Arcturians, which are
I was
from
about to ask you about them.
the Arcturians, they weren't as involved. They kind of have their own little special projects and different parts of the world. Predominantly, some in Europe, some in the Pacific Rim. Particularly Lemuria and some of the Pacific Islands, but they only kind of got involved on a minimal level. So genetically, we don't see as much Arcturian genetics in the human genome as we do Syrian. So I would say Syrian and Pleiadian are probably the most prominent, but we actually kind of a Heinz 57 of many different star races here.
I like that. So what made Earth so unique or special in the sense that obviously I know that there's the gold factor and some of the, I guess, maybe minerals here and different things, but what have you tapped into that kind of has made, I guess, Earth so interesting, or human beings? And then also, right now, isn't it kind of like all eyes are kind of watching us as we're going through this ascension? So
Yeah,
what's
yeah, I would say we're kind of point zero here. I mean, in the scope of the whole galaxy, you would think, well, Earth is just this insignificant little planet on this, far out, outermost corner of the
wait,
Milky
wait,
Way.
don't say that to people that are tapped into the matrix. They'll get offended. They think Earth is number one and uno.
No, not really. It's really kind of dinky. And our solar system is, it's just a small solar system, but I think Earth was considered desirable by extraterrestrial races because it was in a unique position where it had, really favorable conditions to do like genetic mixing, so it was kind of like a living library. They were taking DNA from many different parts of the galaxy and seeding it on Earth to see how it would all kind of mix together, and to have kind of a library of DNA that actually came from other star systems, and to see how it would do here. A lot of people are familiar with the dinosaurs. The dinosaurs were likely genetic experiments from reptilians from Draco. They were creating, alternate versions of themselves, and then they got wiped out. And then, there was different mammals that were created. A lot of these animals, their DNA also originated from other star systems. To give you an example, dolphins and whales originated from Sirius. Sirius A, particularly, and Sirius B had very watery planets, and they had a lot of aquatic bringing. So they brought genetics from Sirius to
Is
create
that
these animals here
why
on
they
Earth.
have such higher intelligence? Because I don't know if you're aware of this, if a woman is pregnant and
Mhm.
she's in the water around dolphins,
Oh,
the
they know.
child, yeah, the
Yeah.
child actually comes out with higher intelligence,
Oh,
increased
yeah.
health. It's like incredible.
Yeah, they do have a higher intelligence, um, and it's because they're considered to be sentient beings from Sirius,
Uh-huh.
So here on Earth, we just kind of see them as dumb animals, which is really kind of a fallacy. They're not dumb at all. They're actually
Oh,
very intelligent beings, and
amazing.
yeah, and I don't know. I got a chance to swim with dolphins in Mexico, and that was like the highlight of my Mexican trip. I was just like, oh my God.
My wife and I are dying to do that. I've always
Yeah, you
wanted to do
should.
that.
You should. Yeah, it's an
Definitely.
experience, and it's almost like they're so intelligent. I don't know. Maybe this is just because I I'm at that level of consciousness, but I felt like I was able to telepathically communicate with them, and
Wow.
yeah, and
That's
while I was
awesome.
in the water with them, and it was really amazing. It was just one of the best experiences ever. So,
Okay.
yeah, so you and your wife should do that. Actually, all your listeners should
I
have
was
that.
gonna say, everybody in the chat, Debbie says, go swim with the dolphins.
Go to swim with the dolphins. It's a
That's
life
awesome.
changing
So we're
experience.
gonna get to your questions in a second, everybody, in comments. And if you have a specific question,
Yeah,
make sure you have it ready to ask Debbie. But
yeah.
I wanted to kind of ask you this.
Okay.
We're seeing, and we talked about this last time a little bit, but now Pluto has, since last we spoke, it's retrograded, went to
Hmm.
29, now it's at 28 degrees, and it's in
Hmm.
a T square with the nodes. We've had the nodal shift, which was
Yeah.
pretty intense. Venus retrograde. Like there's a lot going on. You guys, August is going to slow down. We will have 7 planets retrograde with Jupiter, Uranus, and Mercury in Virgo joining the party with already Neptune, Saturn, Pluto. I mean, it's a lot. So, the Screen Actors Guild, the writer's strike, a lot of people feel, and I've been saying this with the Pluto retrograde, that we would continue to see a lot of the structures and systems crumble and dissipate. And a lot of people are predicting with AI and then Disney maybe trying to merge with Apple and all these different things going on, that Hollywood and the actors, that they may figure something out and they may not, but it may not come back because, though, people are saying that with all the reptilians in entertainment and in the political sphere, that Earth is ascending so much that they can't handle this density.
Yeah, exactly.
Is
Yeah.
that kind of the case?
Yeah, that's what I picked up too about that whole situation. I think the Hollywood as we knew it for the last several decades is crumbling as we speak, and it's not going to be the same. We're going to see a lot more of the smaller independent studios making more films. I don't know if a lot of you have watched Sound of Freedom. That was by Angel Studios. So we're going to see more inspirational movies as opposed to movies that are designed to keep our vibration lower. And a lot of this has been orchestrated. It's just, I'm not surprised to see this happening. I don't think Hollywood's going to come back. And I don't know if people notice too, is like we're not seeing as many big blockbuster movies like we have in the past. And,
Right.
everybody's talking
And
about.
also, they're not, when they do release them, they're not so good and they're not doing so well in the box office.
No, they're not. No. And I
People
think,
are tuning out.
yeah, they're tuning out because they're recognizing that the dark agenda behind these movies, and so we're going to see a lot more of the smaller independent studios making more independent films, and and having films that are more inspirational, more that are more positively oriented, have a positive message. And I think that's what people are really looking for these days. I just don't see us going back
It's
to
important.
Yeah.
It's really important. One last thing before we go to the chat.
Okay.
What is it about reptilians that energetically they struggle, but then they also have such ill will towards humanity. Like, what's that about?
I guess you're meaning about the reptilians that are currently here on Earth, or
Yeah, the
yeah,
ones that have
yeah.
infiltrated our power structures, and I mean,
Yeah,
or should I say, are there some good reptilians here on Earth? I don't know. I mean,
there probably are. I mean, I think reptilians are like a lot of other star races. They have, negative factions, and they have, the positive ones. But I would say probably like predominantly they tend to lean more towards the negative.
yeah,
But there are positive reptilians. I've seen some in Sirius. Some of them are amazing healers. So Sirius was kind of like a hodgepodge of different species of beings, similar to Orion. Orion also had quite a bit of diversity as far as beings, and so you do see positively oriented reptilians. I would say the reptilians, they exist mostly in the fourth dimension,
okay,
and we're moving into the fifth. So it's a little bit too jarring of a frequency for them to exist in, very readily. So they're doing their best to keep things as low dimensional as possible, but they know they're, I mean, I think they're aware of it, but they're just pulling out all stops, trying to keep the dimensions as low as possible and keep people asleep, but
oh
it's just not
yeah,
happening. Yeah.
like the whole Canada thing with the fires, and oh my,
Oh yeah, yeah. It
yeah,
was just kind of,
that's
yeah, it was kind of
okay.
crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
let's go to the chat, Debbie. Take some questions and
Okay.
see who's
I see
here.
one. Do you want me to read the questions,
Yes,
or?
please,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Here's one from Lisa in Lisa Brady, USA. This is a really great question, actually. Are the portals always open, or do certain star races only have access to Earth during certain times of the year? Now, that's a really interesting question, because we do see some astrological correlations with, Lionsgate, which we're currently in right now.
Yes, I was going to ask you about that. Yeah.
Yeah, the current, yeah, which actually starts on July 26th and goes on through August 12th.
Which is the Galactic New Year, correct?
Yeah, that is the Galactic New Year is July 26th. My birthday is actually July 25th, which is considered to be the Mayan day out of time. So
Yes.
it's the day between
It's like
the
New
end
Year's
of the
Eve, right?
year
It's like New
and
Year's Eve, yeah.
yeah, so it's kind of like New Year's Eve. Yeah, Mayan New Year's Eve, I guess.
Wow.
So I have the distinction of being born in the day at a time.
No, that's
Um,
awesome.
yeah, but I know a lot of Leos that are born on July 26th, which is considered to be the Mayan Galactic New Year.
Okay.
So, and that's just how the Mayans had their calendar. But it was also considered to be Lionsgate, which is the time when the star system of Sirius is actually is located closest to Earth.
Okay.
So that's considered to be a Sirian portal. So that would be a time when we would see more of a galactic, I would say, energetic influence from Sirius.
Mm.
So Sirius is considered to be our spiritual sun.
Yeah.
So we would feel more of an influence from Sirius during that time. What's interesting about also astrologically speaking, is that Arcturus also seems to be very prevalent in the sky during this time of the year, kind of like late July, early August
Right.
periods.
Right.
That's when you see Arcturus, clearly in the summer sky, and then it's also very prevalent in November. And I've been
Oh,
doing a starseed study, because I've been doing thousands of these Akashic readings, many of them for starseeds, and
right, right.
I've noticed that a lot of Syrians are born, Syrian starseeds are born during Lionsgate.
Mm.
And then I also noticed that there's a lot of Arcturians that are either born in kind of mid July through early August, or in November. So you see a lot of Cancers, Leos, and Scorpios that are Arcturian star seeds. and a lot of water signs that are Syrian star seeds. So that would be Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. So
That's
uh,
fascinating.
yeah, so there's so we're currently working on that study. So there's a correlation between. So I'm sorry, Lisa, if I kind of went off on a tangent with you.
Yeah. Lisa's amazing too, and she does the galactic astrology and
Yeah,
stuff
she
like
does.
that.
Yeah, I can tell. But
Yeah.
yeah, I would say yes and no. I would say yes, there's portals open all the time, but then there's also specific portals that are open during certain times of the year where there is more of a galactic influence from different star systems. So
Okay.
really cool. Really
All
cool
right.
question.
Take another.
Another question.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. It looks like Staza has one. Staza,
Mhm.
Ample. What does it mean if somebody has natal Neptune on the galactic center, Sag 26, first house at the natal chart? What is the metaphysical meaning in your opinion?
Oh.
Ooh, that's a really great question. So this is my interpretation, and I'm one of those Akashic readers that I don't know. I always like to look at the astrological correlations when I'm doing Akashic readings. I'm not an astrologer like Eric. Eric's an amazing astrologer, but I know enough about astrology to be dangerous.
In a good way, with her amazing Taurus moon on the ascendant.
Yeah, so this is my interpretation of your particular configuration. So Neptune represents spirituality
Yes.
and inner seeking, and you have that on the 26th degree of Sagittarius. What I take that as meaning is that you're very connected to galactic center.
Oh yeah.
So galactic center is actually between the constellations of Scorpio and Sagittarius in our galaxy. So that's actually, I think, the exact degree is, I think, 28. Sagittarius is the exact location of galactic center. So you have a connection with the galactic realms. More than likely, you are probably you probably have had Lyran or Vegan connections.
Yeah, I know that's what I had, and I had a lot of connection with Galactic Center as well. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So if you decide, to do a galactic astrology reading or a galactic akashic reading, I would look at your connections with Altair, which is one of the stars that are located close to that galactic center, and also Vega. I would say, I would take a look at those two stars and see what your connection is with those. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Well, and also I'll say this because I can relate. I have Neptune on the ascendant as well, but mine's
Yeah.
in Scorpio. Usually, when people have that, it can take a while to really understand your identity and self. And
Mm-hmm.
then people can see you as an ideal, but then you yourself not only can be extremely spiritual, creative, you are
Mm-hmm.
like, you can morph and shapeshift. You can
Mm-hmm.
be very talented with the arts and creativity and music.
Yeah,
And
totally.
you
Yeah.
definitely have a strong spiritual sensibility and probably a heightened intuition and maybe even psychic gifts,
Yeah,
and in
I
this
would agree with that.
lifetime, if you had any type of traditional dogmatic growing up and rearing and religion, you would grow and ascend and just become truly more spiritual. You also have to watch out though how you view the opposite house, the seventh house for the other half, in terms of relationships or marital partners. You may not always see them clearly.
Mm-hmm.
And then people always try to tell you, oh, I know you, you're so-and-so and this and that. It's like, no, they got no clue, because it
Mm-hmm.
takes you to at least 20 to 30 years to kind of get and understand who you are. And you need to do it through some really introspection and some, deep spiritual work. So, yeah.
Yeah, really awesome. Yeah, that seventh house connection. 'Cause I think I also have Neptune in the seventh
Yes, in the
house.
seventh house. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that threw me for a loop. It took me a long time to get the relationship thing right.
Well,
It was
definitely, because
yeah,
you know
it
why?
was
It's like you were walking around, Debbie, with my sunglasses on. You had the rose-colored glasses,
oh yeah, totally.
so
Yeah.
you would often be pretty unrealistic in
Oh yeah,
partnership.
I would agree with
You
that.
may you may fall for the wrong guy, or you may think someone doesn't like you and they really are genuine and do like you, or vice versa. And then sometimes you may put someone on a pedestal
Hmm.
that they didn't necessarily deserve. Because what happens is the Neptune there, you can
Hmm.
see the best qualities of a person, but
Yeah.
they may not ever be able to get to that place.
Yeah, that's
You
totally
know?
true.
Yeah.
And I also have have noticed that with a lot of Pleiadian star seeds, that
Mm,
a lot of them have those same tendencies.
okay.
I also spent a lot of lifetimes in the Pleiades, so I kind of carry some of the Pleiades, and I do
Oh,
have
okay. Yeah.
Taurus, 28-degree Taurus in the ascendant, so
Yeah.
I definitely have the Pleiadian markers.
Okay.
But but a lot of Pleiadians come to Earth because they come from realms where everybody was on the same level, everybody was self-actualized and high vibrational, so they were used to having really beautiful relationships there, and then they come to Earth and they just see the potential of people. They don't really see them for truly who they are, and sometimes, and then they go through one or two or three really bad relationships until they finally figure it out and they start setting boundaries for themselves, and then they
Right.
past that. But
And that takes time because Neptune has got no boundaries. And
no,
so that's why it's kind of interesting what we're going through now, you guys, as a collective,
yeah,
having the Saturn and Neptune both retrograde in Pisces. It's really trying to, like, the universe is screaming to us to please put boundaries in place in your life. And we need that now, and for protection, to kind of align and to shift timelines. And I was telling people with this Aquarius super full moon, it's very important to choose love over fear.
oh
You
yeah,
know,
totally,
it,
totally.
it's so needed and prevalent at this time.
Yeah,
And
totally.
well, let's take another question, and then I've got another interesting question for you.
Okay, looks like Trini girl. Let me
Ah,
see.
hey.
She's Trini girl. She goes, is there any way to tell if you're interacting with a galactic being? How do they view us humans? Okay.
That's a good
That's
question.
another really good question.
We
Um,
had a good question last time too.
yeah, she did. Yeah, no, yeah, I remember Trini girl. Uh, so, uh, a lot of it's based on vibration. So a lot of times when people book me for readings, for Akashic readings, the one of the main questions they have is about, maybe some past abduction experiences or some past visitations from extraterrestrial beings, and they want to know if it's real or not. I always say you have to go by vibration. So if for some reason the beings are making you feel uneasy or fearful, then they're probably not benevolent beings. They might be interdimensional, but
Wow.
they're probably not benevolent beings.
Well, anyway, pause right there. What's the difference between that? Interdimensional and benevolent. Explain that. What's the difference?
Okay. Well, a lot of these beings are interdimensional. So whether
Okay.
they're benevolent or not benevolent, they're interdimensional. But a benevolent being would be like a being that is aligned with, a higher consciousness, that are more positively oriented. Whereas a malevolent being would be like a reptilian. They're not.
Okay.
They're negatively oriented, and sometimes these dark beings might try to mess with us. They might want to pretend that they're something that they're not, and I've
Mm,
had clients who've encountered that.
wow.
But yeah, a lot of it's by the vibration. Um, if you're feeling, a lot of love and acceptance and, this warm, like energetic hug, from these beings, then you're probably interacting with star family. And how they view us is interesting. They actually view us as royalty. They view us as galactic royalty because we are such a mix. And so we have, as Earth humans, a lot of people downgrade Earth humans, but in all actuality, we're kind of a beautiful Heinz 57 of many different star races. And that's why a lot of these beings are so interested in Earth right now, to see how we evolve. But we have the capacity to evolve within one lifetime, to higher dimension, which hasn't been seen before in other star systems. So they actually, when we are of that vibration, when we're willing to move beyond the 3D and be on the spiritual path and, try to do good on this planet, they actually want to interact with us. But it has to be, other service to others oriented. So if you're just wanting to interact with them because you're a looky-loo and you just want to, to have an interesting story to tell your friends, they're not,
because they can sense, they know,
they know, yeah,
they know who we are, basically.
Oh yeah. But if you're doing it because you want to serve humanity and because, you have this great desire to be of service, then they're willingly going to interact with you. I do hope that answers your question.
Okay, and we'll get back to you guys in the chat. So please keep questions coming. But I have two really interesting things for you. One's sort of a question, and one's a story that leads to a question. Yeah. But so when we kind of going back to early Earth and humans, because I reference this a lot with my clients and readings, and I find it very fascinating, right? Because in astrology we have annual perfections. Yeah, and so you can, count the years in the chart. Yeah. But, I know that the aliens sort of fused our telomeres, and I'm not sure if that was the Anunnaki or who. Yeah. Right. But so before, I guess there used to be sometimes 300-400 years for a life, and now we're kind of fused and capped off at 120. Why is that? And then I know, how can we change that? Because I know in our last episode, you alluded to, through our spiritual work and through the ascension that the planet's going through, we may be also able to live longer. And could that be past the 120 potentially?
Oh yeah, totally. Okay,
so explain that.
I'm actually going to be teaching a webinar on anti-aging at the end of this month. So
see, you guys,
so that's very timely.
debbiesolaris.com. It's in the description.
Yeah,
make sure you go and check that out and sign up. You may even see me there. That sounds fascinating. Okay, so explain the telomere, because why did they do? Well, I can guess why, but who kind of did it, and is that changing now with the ascension of our planet?
Oh yeah, totally. So this is my take on what happened, and this is what I saw in the Akashic records. But my understanding is that Earth humans at one time have 12-strand DNA, and they were living, 500, years, and baby making was really easy. It was just, so it was typical for ancient humans to have a lot of babies, but then the Anunnaki ended up coming to Earth. The reason why they came to Earth was because their planet was dying and they needed a new place to make home. So their planet went on a trajectory towards our solar system, and they saw Earth and they thought, oh, that'd be a great planet to inhabit. And so they colonized Earth, and they saw the indigenous humans as slaves. They just wanted to dumb them down as much as possible. So they dismantled 10 of the 12 strands. So now we only have 2-strand DNA, which completely shortened our lifetimes. So humans went from living 500 years to living maybe 40 or 50, if they were lucky, and dying off. And then women were dying in childbirth, and there were so many problems with the human genome that they asked the Syrians from Sirius A to assist them in boosting the human genome, which the Syrians, they weren't able to reactivate the 10 strands that were turned off, but they were able to insert enough of their own DNA to ensure that we at least had the capacity of ascension. So
Okay. Which is
so
the
thanks.
importance with the chakras and the third eye, the
Yeah,
pineal gland.
exactly. Yeah. So before humans were completely cut off, we had no chance of ascending. Now at least we have a chance to reconnect with our divinity and our galactic selves and move forward. So right now we're currently going through a process of getting upgraded or reactivated, energetically speaking, but it's also going to have a physical effect on us.
Isn't it like we're like some of our cells are awakening too, right?
Oh
And like
yeah, totally.
DNA change. Yeah. Okay.
So a lot of us are currently anti-aging, as we speak.
Yeah, I'm 23 now.
You're 23. Yeah, good for you. Yeah, no, I think I look better now than I did 20 years ago when I was 40.
No, it's true. You're right. It's
Yeah,
really
and I
powerful.
mean,
Yeah.
but I feel like it's because I'm going through that process, not just physically, but also energetically,
Yes.
upgrading my DNA. So I'm actually 61. I was 61 as of last Tuesday, but I
You
just feel
feel
like.
way younger and look
Yeah,
younger too.
I feel like I'm doing okay for an old lady.
You're
I'm doing all
doing
right.
great. You're
Yeah.
doing great.
So the one of the things that I'm going to be talking about in my anti-aging webinar is certain techniques that we can currently use that will help us expand those telomeres that you were talking about.
Yeah.
So how do we expand telomeres? Well, a lot of it is actually through calorie reduction and intense exercise, which people don't want to hear that. But it's definitely a way of reverse aging and
Yeah.
expanding those telomeres.
It's very good for the brain. And I got to tell you, with the nodal shift, and I'm a Scorpio rising, so that Aries North node's in my 6th house of
Yeah,
work, health, and hygiene.
yeah,
The boost of energy that I've gotten since the nodal shift, it's like insane. And I'm like working, I don't even say too many hours a day, but
yeah,
I'm like lifting weights 7 days a week, at least 2-3 times a day.
yeah.
Not overkilling myself, but doing like shorter workouts, but multiple times a day. And I feel so alive and good. So yeah.
Yeah, I do the same thing. I do a lot of weight training, and then I also do spinning, which is pretty intense cardio. And I've seen definitely a shift towards better fitness when I started integrating the spinning, which is pretty intense. I mean,
Yeah.
I always feel like I'm dying after. After I'm only, I mean, after 30 minutes, I'm like, oh my God. And then they go on for another 15 minutes. I'm like, oh my God, when is this going to end? And then I feel so good afterwards. I'm like, oh, I'm glad I got through that, but
Yeah.
I know it's helping, with my telomeres, it's expanding my telomeres. So I keep doing it.
That's right.
And we are going to move more towards, maybe receiving energy more from the sun or more from, the higher dimensions rather than having to rely so much on physical food. And that's going to help us a lot too. So I'm not saying to stop eating or become a
But
vegetarian, but
it's funny that you say that. I was going to ask you because I'm kind of curious because I was reading somewhere something about the way that the sun is changing that human beings, we may actually need to eat less. Is that
that's true. It's true.
Okay.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm not saying that it's going to happen like, automatically overnight, like, oh, yeah, stop eating. But we are going to find that we need less and less food, and which will help expand our telomeres. I actually eat like 5 times a day, but I eat very small meals, so I keep my calorie count pretty low. I mean, so I'm trying to integrate some of those techniques. The other thing that I think would be especially interesting for Syrian starseeds, but actually any starseed, is integrating more seaweed into our diet. That also
Oh, that's
very
sea
high.
moss. My wife and I do the sea moss every day.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
important. I love it. And
yeah. That
also,
would.
I've been eating with the rhythms of the sun, the intermittent fasting. And so I try to, I'm not having my first meal until after 10ish, 11. And
Yeah,
then I try, try to finish the last meal before the sunset.
yeah. Totally, totally.
And
Yeah,
then you got to
that's.
keep that up even when the winter comes. Yeah, it's
And
really,
intermittent fasting might help for some people. I think it's not one. It's not a technique that works for everybody. But if it
no,
works
I'm
for
sure
you,
it doesn't.
yeah,
We all have the different lineages and different things. And I always tell people, exactly what you said, like what works, because some people are carnivores and some
mhm,
are, want to do more of the high vibrational foods and plant-based and fruits and veggies. And, I think everyone's got to try to find, people get real defensive about their food. So I don't preach
yeah.
to
I mean,
anyone about
I
it,
know.
but I always tell
I try to
people,
get away from that
I
topic.
try to tell people, try different things and just see how your body feels.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the best way to do it, is really, but get some good spring water, get some solid rest and the exercise. And you got to do the sun gazing, sunrise,
Oh,
sunset.
yeah,
Just
yeah.
get
That's
out there and
important.
get that vitamin D.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
very
yeah.
hard.
That's
So let
really.
me ask you this. So I have, actually, I don't haven't spoken to this person in a long time, but it was a story that they shared with me that I know that they're okay with me sharing. But
Hmm.
it's a question. So I had a friend, and I don't want to get into their gender,
Hmm.
but they had an experience where I guess they felt, they didn't remember, but they felt like it was an alien experience,
Hmm.
and they had some marks left on their actual physical body.
Mm.
And then they also had I don't know, they showed me a picture. This is, maybe 5, 6 years ago, showed me a picture where they had a sideways cross
Mm.
on their bed.
Mm. Interesting.
And they had some sort of memories,
Okay.
but they didn't remember, like like being in the ship or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And at the time, this was like right when I was starting to study to become a professional astrologer.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, that's heavy. And I totally believed them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
didn't have a
Totally.
reason to lie to me, but I didn't know what to do with it. I was just like, okay, are you okay? And I was just
Yeah.
trying to be a comforting friend. But like, what do you think that is about? Like, if somebody, if they came to you, like, how would you explain what they? Because I think they said they had marks around their pelvic bone, and I think maybe around their ears or upper neck or something.
Oh, interesting. Can
Yeah.
you describe what the marks, or did they tell you what the marks looked like?
No, they had texted me a picture. It was like just like a line or something. They said it was
Okay.
like a line, and they said that they didn't have any pain, nothing, but it was just like they were like, "Whoa, what happened?" You know what I mean? And I was like, "Whoa, I don't know." Sounds
Yeah.
like,
Gotcha.
and I've always been open to reading Zachariah Ascension and stuff forever.
Yeah.
I've known about aliens since way
Oh,
back,
yeah.
but you
Totally.
know what
Yeah.
I mean. So I told them, I said, I think you had some sort of I guess it was abduction or
Abduction.
visitation. Yeah.
Yeah. And then when did this happen to your friend? Or
I think it may have been around 6 years ago.
okay. Okay. So there are certain extraterrestrial races that are really interested in human genetics for hybridization purposes, and
Mm,
some of us may even have contracts, soul contracts with some of these beings.
okay.
But maybe we're not aware of it, consciously, but we might have had a soul contract with a certain race to have to have the ability to donate DNA, so
So this is something that they previously agreed
free
to
to, yeah,
in
exactly.
another dimension or another life.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. even the malevolent beings, I mean, a lot of them have violated the law of non-interference and the law of violating free will by abducting people without their consent. But quite a few of us, just as many of us, have had contracts with certain beings to enable them to utilize our DNA. And particularly the Lyran Pleiadian DNA is very sought after, but even certain Arcturian or Syrian DNA might also be sought after as far as hybridization programs are concerned. But I do have quite a few clients that have had these kinds of soul contracts, and they actually have hybrid children in another dimension. So
Wow, that's pretty awesome. So
yeah.
how would you be able to tell the difference though? Like if something like that happened to like me or my wife or a friend, like how would you tell the difference if it was a contract or like a bad, someone breaking
A bad thing.
yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell.
Okay.
A lot of times when I'm doing readings, I can tell if they've
Okay.
had a contract or if it was just an abduction, out of their consent.
So I
But
could
for
reach out to them and say, "Hey, I met this lady, Debbie Solaris.
yeah,
You should book a reading with her."
yeah, no, I mean, and I've had quite a few clients that had these kinds of experiences, more so
Wow.
than you would realize,
I
where
can only imagine.
yeah, I
Gosh.
mean, there's a lot of us that have had these types of experiences, and
Now you said
um,
you went through it twice, correct?
yeah, I went through my extraterrestrial abduction experience twice. Yeah, and mine was very benevolent. It was, um, I just felt like an honored guest, on
Yeah.
the ship. Um, but I think it's more from what feeling do you get around it? If you get like a peaceful feeling, well, maybe it was an agreement.
Yeah.
If you're feeling very fearful, or there's memory loss, or I mean, it might be an actual abduction. So, but I'm getting the sense that this is just from my observations that these unwilling abductions are occurring less and less because more and more people are stepping into their self sovereignty, and they're not
Yeah.
allowing it anymore. So and also the Galactic Federation isn't allowing it so much
Well,
anymore.
yeah, and I was going to say the council and federation, they kind
Yeah,
of they have a little wheeling power over
yeah,
even the bad characters. So
yeah,
let me ask you this. This is kind of random and I kind of hate to bring this up. I know I brought it up a little bit last time, so I'm not going to focus on it.
yeah,
But when I was, in a coma,
yeah.
I was going on a spaceship
Mm.
to Mars.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really, it seemed so real. It was very fascinating, but I don't know, like what, I don't know. I don't know what to even ask. Like, well, what do you think that means? Or, you know what I mean? Obviously, I'm a Scorpio rising, which is ruled by Mars, but I just wonder, like, because it didn't seem to me, obviously the whole experience, 40 days,
Yeah,
everything seemed, I was just in another, timeline or dimension. But
yeah, gotcha.
like, what would you like? What does that mean? I don't know.
Um, so you're asking if when you were in the coma, if you've had some sort of out of body travels or
Yeah,
yeah,
well, I was going on a ship, and like
yeah,
we were hooked up to. It was multiple people,
mm-hmm,
and I forgot the apparatus, but it was a huge ship, and there was some lean back or breathing. It was a whole thing, and
mm-hmm,
we were going. I just remember we were going to Mars. I don't remember, going there or getting there. I just
mm-hmm.
remember like the beginning of the journey, I guess.
Oh,
But it
interesting.
was fascinating, and we were leaving out of it's either Oakland or San Francisco, somewhere in California.
Okay. So this is my take on that, and I don't know if this resonates, but a lot of us, when we're like say in a coma or we're in dream time, we do a lot of astro traveling
Yeah.
to other alternate dimensional aspects of ourselves.
Mm.
So a lot of times when we're having a dream and we're feeling like, hey, I'm myself, but I'm in a different body, or I'm in a different reality or interacting with people that I know in the dream, but I don't know in real life or in this lifetime. It's usually our soul kind of doing a soul retrieval of sorts, like we're healing some aspect of ourselves in another timeline or another dimension. So probably when you were in the coma for, I mean, you said you were in it for 40 days, you're
Yeah.
probably doing a lot of soul retrieval work. You
Yeah.
needed all of your soul resources to be in this reality. So it was giving you an opportunity actually to do a lot of this astro traveling into these alternate dimensions. We're all multidimensional beings, you know, so
And I did do that. I mean, I
yeah,
went to my
yeah.
house. I went to, I
Oh
think,
yeah,
another
yeah.
trip to England. Like there was
Hmm.
a lot going on.
Oh yeah, no, you were busy. You were busy.
I was very busy.
Everybody thought you were in a coma, but you're astro traveling. Yeah,
Oh
so
gosh, I was
uh,
so busy.
yeah,
Oh,
you were busy.
thank
Yeah,
God.
so
So let's go.
I believe I am a Lyran starseed. How have they contributed to Earth? This is by Alana Taylor. Many of us are connected with Lyra Alana, and it's a beautiful lineage. You probably would do very well on vegetarian or vegan diets. Speaking of diets from before, that lineage does
And
very
that's
well.
my wife. We were vegan for a
Yeah,
while.
yeah,
Then we went to vegetarian.
yeah,
Then we went to pescatarian.
yeah. Gotcha.
Then we went back, and
Yeah, yeah,
then for a little bit we introduced some meat back,
yeah,
but
gotcha.
it didn't feel.
Didn't feel as good. Yeah,
No, like it gives you a little bit of boost of energy, and then but then
and it's kind of like, yeah,
yeah, I
yeah.
don't know, because I'm kind of Lyran Vega, and so
Yeah, yeah, I think a lot of us are actually. So how have they contributed to Earth? Well, that's a beautiful question because they
yeah.
contributed a lot to planet Earth. A lot of our civilization, our work ethic, and I think our approach to things physically came from the Lyran people. These are very physical people. And they also kind of gave us the idea of structure. You know, some of our structure also came from Sirius. Syrians were very process-oriented people, but a lot of our civilization and who we are, a lot of our genetics, especially, came from Lyra. Yeah, so it's actually, I don't know. I get a lot of people in the spiritual community that seem to downgrade on Lyrans because they got their butts kicked in the Lyran wars from the Draconians.
But
But
I tried to warn them.
you tried to warn them. Yep,
They didn't listen.
they didn't listen to you. But actually, these were people who were survivors. I mean, they survived a horrific war and they started colonies all throughout the galaxy. So I have a
Wow.
lot of love and respect for Lyran Vegan, people. So we have a lot to be thankful for, from these races. They were very innovative as well. They managed to extract water from asteroids, and I mean, they were just amazing people. Grow plants on starships. I mean, these
Wow.
were amazing people. So I would be proud of your lineage. Let's see. I was wondering if there's more information on Antares. Okay, this is from Dana Clemente.
Hi, Dana. She's
Hi,
new.
Dana. Yeah. So
Nice to
Dana
meet
is coming in hot and heavy
you.
with
Yeah, I like it, Dana. Welcome to the show.
yeah, yeah. So Antares is a beautiful stargate. It's
Hmm.
actually the biggest star in Scorpio. It's the one of the four royal stars.
Yes, yes, yes.
But it's mainly a portal between our galaxy and Andromeda galaxy. And there was gatekeepers that were maintaining this portal. And you can read more about Antares on my website. I have a whole section on Antares. So if you go on the Galactic History section of my website, you can read more all about Antares and Antarian beings. But they were mostly mantid type beings. They were not human. Or humanoid. They looked like big mantis looking beings.
Wow.
but very benevolent, very benevolent. Not negatively oriented at all. Very high dimensional
So
being.
what would that mean if someone has a Scorpio sun, moon, or rising very close to that? Because I'm a Scorpio rising, so I just wondered in terms of,
Hmm.
or if someone's got a Scorpio sun or moon, major, planetary energies.
Probably again a connection with Galactic Center, but also these are folks who might have came in through the Antares Stargate. Maybe they originally came from Andromeda Galaxy, and this was their first foray into this galaxy. So they identify with Scorpio, or they're bringing in Scorpio energy. So there's a number of reasons why there might be a Scorpio connection in their charts. But yeah, there's a lot of connections with Antares. I have a really dear client who he's in Washington, D.C. He's actually a Pisces, but he has a lot of Scorpio connections in his chart, and he's an Antarian star being. He's originally from Antares. So so we do see that. We do see that Scorpio connection sometimes with that Antarian energy.
So real quick, before we get to a couple more questions, because I know
Yeah.
there's so many people, I don't want them to feel left out.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
But let me ask you this. So because I remember you saying it last time, and then I was, listening to your channel. Who are the blue people? I know we got the, I think about James Cameron's movie, but we got the darker blue people. And then I remember you said the lighter blue. So
There's all kinds of blue beings. There's the
all
blue
kinds of blue
avians.
beings.
There's the blue beings.
So who are they in the galaxy?
Yeah, the blue. Yeah. When I watched Avatar, it reminded me a lot of Vega. Just the culture and the planet and how the beings were with each other. So the Vegan star race were actually blue-skinned humans. And a lot of the darker skin genetics actually originated from Vega. So you have a connection with Vega, but you also have a connection with Lyra. But so you're kind of a mix of both. But yeah, they were dark-skinned blue people. Very tall. They were like 12, 15 feet tall, very large beings. They actually looked a lot like Hindu gods. So when they were visiting Earth, back in ancient times, people thought they were gods, because they were so large, but they were actually extraterrestrials. But
is that the connection to the giants that are like in the Bible?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, big time. Yeah, because these beings they weren't 6 feet tall. They were huge. Because they were higher dimensional humans. So they had 12-strand DNA. They had all their, human capacities online. And unlike here, where we only use 10% of our brain, so in our Earth human bodies, I don't know, it's so sad. But
I feel like I'm using it a little bit more nowadays.
Yeah, I think so. I think I do. I try to, but I don't know. There's days where I feel like
I woke up. I feel like I'm, I got zapped a little.
Yeah. So I get also there's Syrian humanoids. They were a mix of Lyran and Vegan people that escaped the wars. So they also had light blue skin. So they look human, but they had this light blue skin tone. And then Andromedans had also blue skin, Andromedan humanoids. And the reason why they had blue skin was because of the conditions of their planets. They had a lot of copper on their planet. So everything they ingested had copper. And so they became blue skinned. So there's different reasons why beings are blue, but a lot of the darker skin tones here on Earth actually originated from that Vega blue skin tone. So
that's fascinating.
Yeah, it is interesting. It's something I hope to write a book on at some point. I'm working on it. Yeah, heritage. Just wondering if you can offer more information on Cassiopeia. That's another one of those really interesting star systems that
I don't know anything about that one. Yeah.
Yeah, Cassiopeia. Cassiopeia is actually a star system that's located fairly close to Andromeda. It's
Okay.
part of that whole Andromedan group in our galaxy, that, which also contains Pegasus and Perseus and other star systems. In addition to Andromeda, Cassiopeia was actually, after the Lyran Wars, was a way station. So when the Lyran refugees were passing through, they stopped off at Cassiopeia for to replenish themselves and for healing, and there was actual cat-like beings that were indigenous to Cassiopeia. So I do get some of my clients that incarnated as some of these cat beings. They were usually healers. They were energy healers.
Okay.
I call them like the galactic triage nurses. They were, they were.
But maybe they have some eighth house placements in their birth chart.
Oh yeah, totally, yeah. So they'll be interesting to see what the astrological correlations are with that. But,
you guys, who was that? Yeah, reach out to me. I want to see your birth chart.
Yeah, Peta Schwartz. Asked that
Okay,
question.
Peter. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay.
Yeah, so she's got some really healing energy there. I would say, if she has a connection with Cassiopeia, but yeah, the Cassiopeians were kind of like an etheric race, and I think the reason why they chose like kind of more of a feline form was because it was familiar to the Lyrans, and they just figured, we'll try to make ourselves look as friendly as possible. They love cats. Let's make ourselves look like cats. So. But they were actually etheric beings, and they were so high dimensional. And Cassiopeia was kind of a simulated reality, so it wasn't really. And so the Lyrans that wanted to stay there were encouraged not to stay there. They said they were told to move on to Andromeda. So, but yeah, it's a whole interesting thing with Cassiopeia. I hope to maybe do a section on it on my website. You might want to read some on the Andromeda constellation. They'll give you some insights. So feel free to join my subscriber list on my website. Also, I am going to be offering a Starseed Anti-Aging webinar. I think it was the 28th of August. I think that's the date we chose. So
28th of August. Okay. Yeah.
So we're going to start on that.
That sounds good. And how long is that webinar?
It's going to be probably an hour and a half. So it'll just be like on a Sunday, and we'll just, you can join in live, but then we'll also have a replay available if you can't make the live. So
yeah, because I may actually be coming back that Sunday, I think, from Sedona for a spiritual retreat. So I may want to check it out on the road. Check it out on the road and check the, get the recording.
Yeah, the replay. Do you want me to take one more question? Or
yeah, one more, and then I have a question for you before we wrap up.
Okay. So Moon Goddess 45 asked, what is Atlantis? Was it an advanced world? Yeah, that's a great question. And I do work with Atlantis and Lemuria quite a bit with Akashic readings, because a lot of us chose to have incarnations in those civilizations.
I know I did, Moon Goddess.
Yeah. So Atlantis was supposed to be it was actually founded by extraterrestrial races, particularly the Pleiadians and the Lyrans, but it was designed to be the representation of Father God consciousness on planet Earth. And so it was very kind of masculine oriented, a lot of technology. But yeah, it was an advanced civilization. They started off fifth dimensional, but then they plunged to the third dimension. And that was when they started infighting within each other and destroyed themselves. In the end, I also have a section on Atlantis on my website. So if you're interested in more information, just check out the website, and you can read all about Atlantis and Lemuria.
Doesn't that seem like every story, though? It's almost kind of sad.
I know, it's sad. It is sad. Yeah, it's a human story. Yeah,
these great heights that are reached. Mm-hmm. And then so it almost makes you really understand that there is no like utopia, and that there's
always like some things start off happy, and then there's like this this deceptive force that comes in and messes everything up, and then people fight, and then it's all, all goes to shit, So that's
I have
always the human story, and then we kind of crawl our way back, So.
Yeah, no, I know. So I have a quick thought before I have this
Okay.
kind of deeper question.
Okay.
So when you were talking about the Giants, it makes me wonder, right? So I'm a big sports fan, and I think about
Yeah.
like Shaquille O'Neal or some of these NBA players like Manu Bol, and there was a new rookie this year, Victor Wembanyama, who's like 7'7", 7'6", from France, and he's of African lineage, but he's from France, and he's huge. And I wonder with some of these bigger people, even Yao Ming, 7'6", 7'7",
Yeah, they're really tall. Yeah.
Is there some sort of, because it seems like for some of them, it's out of nowhere. Like, their parents are not that big. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
So like, is that like someone incarnating from a certain?
Yeah, it could
age?
be. I kind of wondered that myself sometimes about some of these really extraordinary humans, that are just, really athletically blessed. And to me, it almost seems like, wow, they must be throwbacks from, Lyran genetics or Vegan genetics. And these Lyran and Vega people were very physically adept. I mean, these were people that, they could jump through trees and, swim. And, they were, very physical beings. So it seems like almost like they were a throwback to those extraterrestrial genetics. And we see some extraordinary athletes, that just have extraordinary abilities, almost superhuman abilities. And it almost seems like I would say even more so nowadays, that a lot of us that are being born now are actually souls from other realities, other star systems, other dimensions. And so we're bringing in some of our soul DNA and connecting with these human bodies. And so we're finding that more and more humans are star seeds, that we are not originally from here. And we might be in human form, but we're not originally from here. So, we are seeing, really superhuman abilities in some of these people. And some of them might be connected with Orion. I see a lot of basketball players that have Orion genetics for some reason. I don't know why basketball in particular, but
I always wondered about that. It's so fascinating to me, because even the story of Michael Jordan, right? He's 6'6", and considered to be by most people the greatest basketball player ever.
Yeah.
But his father was only 5'8".
Yeah.
Mom was like 5'7", 5'8". His younger brother was maybe 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah.
And very athletic, but Jordan 6'6". Like, you know what I mean? You're just like, whoa, where did that come from?
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. It's just it almost seems like their genetics is a throwback, It's and some of them might be star seeds, maybe they're here for some sort of higher agenda or higher mission, who knows. But a lot of them do fall under, I think they get very tempted by, I think all the trappings of fame and fortune, unfortunately.
Yeah. I know.
It's just like
That's another common human story. So I guess kind of my last question. This is a heavy one. I like to
we always like to hand
on the heavy side with you.
Yeah. Big E astrology. So
Big E astrology. I
gotta big E. Yeah.
But so I know when we go through history and we see whether it's Tartania or Atlantis or different times, the flood of Noah, and usually it's correlated with the shifts of the poles.
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually two questions, because one, do you feel like, and I don't know if there's reports that it's 10 to 12 to 15,000 years, these shifts happen, and we could be getting close to that, which is kind of quote unquote really climate change or global
Yeah,
warming or
gotcha.
whatever, not, what they're trying to, inject on us or whatever.
Yeah.
But so in the galactic, are you picking up or sensing that that is something that could be close in the next 100,000, 20 years? And then also after that, what do you sense or feel is really what Admiral Byrd explored beyond the ice wall of the North Pole in terms of other continents, Garden of Eden, or rumors to be of, other species and everything?
I could probably go and try to explain it all in 5 hours, but just
No, give me the edited version.
yeah, just to wrap it up here. Yeah, I would say regarding all of that, I think Earth goes through several evolutions. So and I always correlate it with where is the North Star, which North Star are we aligning with during this period of time? So Earth at one point used to be aligned with Vega, which Vega is the home of human consciousness. So it's interesting that several million years ago was aligned with Vega, and then during the dinosaur times, the Earth axis shift, and it was aligned with Thuban, which is in the Draco constellation. So our North Star was once in Draco. Okay. Then around the time of Christ, which was another consciousness shift, the North Star shifted to Polaris, which is currently we're aligned with Polaris.
Right.
So that's where we're at now. Eventually, maybe a few thousand years from now, we're going to shift back to Vega. Okay, so
and that will shift the planet as well.
Yeah, exactly. We are shifting back to
huge flood.
The original human template, which is to have that 12-strand DNA, to be living in a utopian paradise. So I kind of see this as a correlation or an evolution, that we kind of went into the dark aspects of ourselves for many thousands of years, and now we're getting out of that into back to the higher aspects of ourselves and getting realigned with that Vega template, which is the home of human consciousness. So it's interesting that it correlates also with kind of the shift of the planets. I think there's currently a shift going on right now because the weather patterns are just getting really wonky. And
yeah.
I mean, like I mentioned earlier in this interview about Colorado, just the unusual weather patterns that we're having here. So there's definitely some correlations between physically what's happening on the planet and also energetically what's happening on the planet on an ascension process.
But that shift doesn't have to mean total destruction, calamity. You're saying
no, not at all.
But in terms of the poles of the Earth, though, could it create that, though? Or do you think that we're kind of ascending, so we may not go through that sort of great flood again or something?
Yeah, exactly. I don't think we're going to go through a calamity. I think that was a timeline that we shifted out of, because that was originally going to be our timeline, but we shifted out of that. So I see us actually going through a series of evolutionary shifts energetically, where, like I mentioned before, the DNA upgrades that all of us are currently going through. I see a lot of starseeds that look phenomenal for their age. They look really great. And we don't look like, the 50 or 60-year-olds from, decades past, because our DNA is shifting. And
us Pluto Virgo folks, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Yeah. Virgo is all about health and wellness. So Virgos are going to be on top of their game.
Yeah.
So
listen, I've got a stellium of all stelliums in Virgo. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I know it's just going to be. I got my Venus in Virgo. So I got a little Virgo in there. So
That's good.
Yeah, and also I think some asteroids are aligned with Virgo. go with
Yeah.
my chart. Yeah. But anyway,
and then the North Pole, what's beyond?
yeah, what's beyond? Yeah. A lot of people on Earth don't realize it, but there's actually civilizations that are an inner Earth, so there's a lot going on with Earth that we're not even aware of, which I could do a whole other episode on inner
And
Earth.
tons of water. We're not going to run out of water.
We're not going to run out of water. Yeah. So, so I think we're going to be there's going to be disclosure of a lot of information that has been hidden from us in the next few years. I think that what you mentioned about government talking about UFOs is kind of like, oh yeah, we all know that. It's like no, that's not new news, but it's nice at least they're talking about it.
Yeah, so. People just want lower the gas prices, stop harassing us, give us some free energy,
exactly.
Real food. Don't poison us, and who cares? Yeah.
Exactly. Well, anyway, I guess that's. I don't know if there's anything else.
Thank you so much, Debbie. This was, again, an honor and a pleasure.
No, it's been great to be back. I love your folks. Your folks ask really great questions, and I think some of them are having readings with me. So yeah.
Yes. And you guys, please reach out to Debbie, debbiesolaris.com. Like she said, you can mention, you're coming from my show and that you're connected with Eric, but you're gonna have to wait.
We'll try to get you on as soon as we can.
She's really backed up.
I do have a massive waiting list, so my assistant Anne, who you'll be probably interacting with, will take the best. Yeah, she is the best. Yes,
and she's hanging out in my place. She's in New York. She told me. I'm like,
yeah, she is. Yeah.
Yeah,
and I'll be coming to Scottsdale hopefully soon.
And yes, so, I'm looking forward to connecting. Yeah, maybe we do a show live in person. That'd be awesome.
Oh yeah, that'll be a blast. Yeah, we'll have to do that in October.
But, we'll definitely at least have to get you some of my wife's good cooking because oof. I feel like it's not even fair that I'm this blessed in this Earth experience.
Oh yeah, no. But this is what happens when you align with those higher dimensions.
Oh, listen. Whether it's our Lyra connection or the Taurus, Scorpio, Virgo, Pisces connection, all I know is I'm very thankful. I've married well in life.
No, you did, and you got an amazing mother-in-law because I know exactly.
Oh yeah, and she would just love. I think she's watching right now, so she would love to see you.
Yeah, I would definitely love to reconnect with her. So
you guys, my mother-in-law saw Debbie when Debbie was not on the internet.
When I was first starting out way back in the day.
Yeah, in person.
Yes,
so that's awesome.
And she came to my house. Yeah, it was way back.
That's right, exactly. Yeah, so so that's awesome. Well, you guys, thank you. You want to
thank you, everybody.
Please contact Debbie, debbiesolaris.com. You can reach out to me, biggieastrology@gmail.com. My new website will be coming soon, biggieastrology.com. I'm going through an upgrade, so be patient, but it's going to be beautiful. Yeah. And thank you again, my friend. Everybody, this was fun. Episode 153, Knowledge is Love. And enjoy the rest of your Aquarius super full moon, which is one of 4 in a row. And just means the moon is closer to Earth. Mm-hmm. And honestly, just remember to choose love over fear. Mm-hmm. Okay? All right. Thanks again, Debbie.
Thank you, everybody.
All
Bye.
Right.
Thanks,
Bye, you guys.